Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. All Levels Yoga. Michelle Chua here. So let's start in a comfortable seat. We've been discussing more ways that practicing compassion can help us to connect with the outside world. I want to dive a little more into how it can help us to connect with our inside world in the yogic practice of speaking truth, or satya, within the second limb of yoga. So this is a quote by Pema Chodron in her book, When Things Fall Apart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times. Generally speaking, we regard discomfort in any form as bad news. But for practitioners or spiritual warriors, people who have a certain hunger to know what is true, feelings like disappointment, embarrassment, irritation, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear, instead of being bad news, are actually very clear moments that teach us where it is that we're holding back. They teach us to perk up and lean in when we feel we'd rather collapse and back away. They're like messengers that show us with terrifying clarity exactly where we're stuck. Kind of think of this in a more kinesthetic or tactile manner as looking into our bodies. We come across physical stiffness or tension as we're getting into a posture sometimes we didn't realize was there. And rather than looking at it with aversion, avoidance, or judgment, we could take it as information. Ah, okay, I see. Become more curious. Why is my body stuck here? Retrace our steps. What have I been doing so far lately that may have created this imbalance? Ah, and perhaps elicit insight moving forward. So can we do the same with emotions that arise? Perhaps within this hour, but even beyond this hour in our day-to-day lives. So invite you now as you sit tall, rooted, as you press towards the earth below, to take a moment to pause and just observe body, mind, breath. The gentleness to ourselves, can we use an open-minded curiosity to lean in? Feeling your breath rise a little slower. Notice what it feels like when you fully inhaled, taking your time getting there. And then emptying the breath, perhaps to your mouth. Notice what it feels like when you fully emptied. No rush to get anywhere. In fact, the slow process allows us to become more aware. Invite your breath into your lungs, into your belly. Feel your breath expand into the four walls of your rib cage, front and back, left and right. Bring the same attentiveness into how you release your breath. Now inviting a more audible but gentle whispering sound as you close your lips, breathing through your nose. So through this sound, we create something the mind can steady its focus on, an anchor for our attention. Continuing with this Ujjayi, add some movement. So come on down all fours, and we'll begin with cat-cow. On your next inhale, gliding your spine forward, then coiling your chest up, tilting your chin up. As you exhale, contract your belly, rounding your spine. Feel your shoulder blades spread wider across your back ribs. Taking a few more times, inhale as you glide forward, then just beneath your shoulder blades, create the arch to lift your chest. Exhaling, draw your belly into your back as you drop your skull and tuck your tailbone under. Keep going. So just as you're taking your time with your breath, take your time with your movement to really try to synchronize the initiation of the in-breath with the initiation of the gliding forward. So it's at the peak of the posture of cow that you feel the fullness of your inhalation. You take just as long as you move to exhale to your nose. And as you've emptied the breath completely, you feel that hollowing of your belly towards your back. Now, as we continue to slow down the breathing and movements, we're gonna lengthen this motion a greater distance. So it'll have to go a little slower with the breath. Inhale, lengthen forward and coil your chest up. Exhale to child's pose slowly as you breathe out, contracting your belly, dropping your pelvis to your feet, forehead to the ground. Let's take a few more like that. Inhale, come forward to hands and knees, then coil your chest up. Exhale, slowly contract your belly as you round and drop your sitting bones to your heels in child's pose. Take a few more on your own pace of breath. Observing the sensations in your body as we shift the sequence. So we're gonna add on even greater distance, even slower breaths. Inhale, come forward and coil your chest up. Separate your feet hips distance and tuck your toes. Exhale, press the hands down, lift your hips high, downward facing dog. Right into motion. Inhale, lower your knees again. Glide forward and coil your chest up. Tuck your toes and exhale, push down through your hands and lift your hips back to downward facing dog. Take a few more on your own. Inhale to cow. Exhale to downward dog. Finish one more cycle and we'll meet in downward facing dog. Just taking a moment there to slowly pedal out your feet. Maybe add swiveling your hips left and right and softly moving your head to relax your neck. And while you ground down firmly through your fingers spread, let the creases of your wrists parallel the front edge of your mat. Feel the space between your thumbs and index fingers rooted onto the floor while you rotate your triceps, outer upper arms towards the ground to broaden your shoulders. Drop your skull, steady your gaze towards your feet, and lift your shoulder blades onto your back ribs away from your neck. Bend your knees, stick your tailbone up really high as you push down through your hands, and see how much you can lengthen your back while firming your belly against it. Keep that action and now firm the fronts of your thigh bones towards your rear wall. Let your heels become heavier and heavier while trying to keep the height of your hips. Knees can be bent, heels don't have to touch the floor, but parallel your feet hips distance. Now let's take a few more breaths still in downward dog. And with that stillness, become a witness of any subtle thing that emerges. Start to walk your feet forward to the very top of your mat. Coming into a forward fold. Separate your feet a little wider than hips distance. Parallel your second toes. And then bend your knees and reach your hands behind your lower back to interlace your fingers or to hold a strap between your hands. Shifting a little more weight towards the balls of your feet from in your belly. And with an inhale, extend your chest forward, growing your spine halfway up. Hug your bent elbows closer together. And as you exhale, continue to broaden your chest as you bow from your hips, lifting your sitting bones high as you drop your skull for a few breaths here. Now just softly move your head around and make sure that your neck isn't gripping, but allowing your head to just fall. And at the same time, while stretching your arms forward, away from your lower back, slightly bend your elbows and lift your shoulder bones up, away from your neck. Start to straighten your right leg, leaning your chest towards it. Feel your jaw relaxed, your tongue soft. Then bend your right knee again and straighten your left leg. Maybe switch the interlacing of your thumb and index fingers. Leaning towards your left leg. Keep tilting your weight forward, lifting your shoulders, relaxing your neck. Listen to the sound of your breath. Coming back through center, keep a slight bend in both knees and crawl your fingertips onto your shins. As you inhale, firm your belly in and lengthen your spine parallel to the floor while sliding your shoulders back. Feel that full length in your spine and nurture it as you exhale to bow again, perhaps a little deeper. Rooting down through the four corners of each foot, inhale, sweep your arms out to your sides, rising to stand so that palms meet overhead at the peak of your inhale. Exhale, slowly trace your thumbs down the center line of your body so that your arms land by your sides at the bottom of your exhale, palms facing forward. Heel toe your feet hips width apart and ground them as you inhale to lift your arms and gaze, watching your palms touch. Exhale, perhaps a little bend in your knees as you lean forward to bow. Press the ground to your legs and inhale, lengthen your spine forward, slide your shoulders back. Keep that length and exhale, fold, planting your hands, step back to plank. Holding plank about 5 breaths, knees on the ground for support or legs straight, look forward on the ground in front of your hands. Spread your fingers and root down to rebound a lift up, creating space in your shoulders as you soften them away from your neck. Draw your navel in, elongate through both ends of your spine, and as you exhale, glide forward as far as you can before bending your elbows, arms grazing your side ribs, and slowly lowering all the way down. Interlace your fingers behind your lower back, point your toes to actively stretch your legs long. Firm down through all of your toenails, keep your feet on the ground, and inhale, coil your chest up, look on the floor ahead for another 3 to 5 breaths. Here in bound locust pose, reach the knuckles of your hands towards your heels. Spin your inner thighs slightly towards the sky. Reach your tailbone back towards your inner heels. Take one more inhalation as you soften your shoulder heads down and broaden your chest forward. Keep that lift in your chest and that broadening and plant your hands for cobra or upward facing dog, taking a couple of breaths. So wrists alongside floating ribs, elbows close to your sides. Take a deep breath and another. Then press the mat away and lift your hips high. Draw your weight towards the rear of your mat. Downward facing dog. Be still, let's take a few breaths. Bend your knees, lift your heels and hips high, look beyond your fingertips. At the end of your exhalation, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat. In your forward fold, press with your fingertips and inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Feel all of that length as you exhale to hinge and bow a little deeper. Root down through your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms so your palms meet at the top of your in-breath. Exhale your palms down at the bottom of your out-breath. Marrying movement to breath, sun salutation A. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, gaze up. Exhale, hinge from your hips, bowing forward. Inhale, rise halfway up, step into plank, and exhale, glide forward, then hug your elbows towards your sides as you lower, all the way for cobra or halfway for upward dog. Breathing in, lift your chest, relax your shoulders. Breathing out, contract your belly and lift your hips back. Downward facing dog, 3 to 5 breaths. Let's take one more. When you're ready, bend your knees, look forward. On empty breath, held out, walk or float to the top. Inhale, lift your heart forward. Exhale, bow further. Inhale, rise tall and gaze up. Exhale, mountain pose. Inhale, arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bow forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, half forward fold, Ardha Uttanasana. Step to plank again, or this time float back lightly into Chaturanga Dandasana, halfway down. Inhale into Cobra, Bhujangasana, or upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, let's meet in Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. A few breaths. Now, as you keep your two hips balanced, think of lifting from your inner thigh. As you inhale to raise your right leg slowly back. Exhale, bend your right knee towards your nose, round forward to stack your shoulders over your wrists, and very gently set your right foot down inside of your right hand. Spin your left heel to the floor and keep your feet separated as wide apart as your hips. With your two hips facing forward, press to your feet and slowly rise up to stand in Warrior One. Take a moment to place your hands on your outer hips and let your right hip draw back as you bend your right knee directly above your right heel. Let your left hip come forward as you straighten your left leg entirely and press the outside edge of your left heel on the floor. Lift your frontal hip bone slightly as the belly is engaged. Lengthen your tailbone down. Lift your rib cage, softening the front ribs in, and then raise your arms, relaxing your shoulders down. Steady your gaze. Let's take a few breaths in Virabhadrasana 1. Keep your two hips facing forward. Bend your elbows apart like the shape of a cactus out of your arms. Then cross your right elbow over your left elbow into eagle arms, whether you hook your thumbs or wrap your forearms and palms. Softening your shoulder blades down your back ribs. Lift your elbows to the height of your shoulders and gently press your forearms away from your face. How is your breathing? As you firm in your lower belly, we're going to wrap your left leg over your right leg to come to stand on your right foot in eagle pose. So start to shift your weight entirely into your right foot. Keep your right knee bent. Wrap your left leg as you flex the foot. Now you could sit here like a cross-legged chair or tuck your left toes behind your right calf and scissor your left hip slightly back to realign your hip bones to face forward. See how low you can sit in balance here as we take a few deep breaths in Garudasana, eagle pose. Entering half moon pose as we continue to balance just on your right foot. You might like to place your right hand on your right hip, your left hand on your left hip, and unravel your left leg horizontally behind you as you flex the foot while lengthening your spine forward. Then place your right hand on your block or the ground 6 inches forward of your right pinky toe out to the right upper corner. Turn your chest completely to face your left wall. Draw the crease of your right hip back towards your lifted left heel. If your balance feels pretty stable, consider raising your left arm, stacking your wrists and shoulders, maybe even looking up towards your left thumb. Let's take a few breaths here. Becoming curious of whatever comes up in your mind, in your body, within. Feel into how slowly you can transition with care into Warrior Two, bending your right knee and gently stepping your left foot towards the rear of your mat, arms wide open. Align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. As your right outer hip rotates slightly beneath your body, pointing the center of your right knee and your center right toe straight ahead towards the front of your mat. As your left leg slightly turns inward, firm the top of your left thigh bone back towards the right edge of your mat. And with arms wide open, feel your spine centered, tall, as you relax your shoulders down and steady your eyes just beyond your right hand for a few more breaths. Warrior Two. Wrapping your left arm behind your back, perhaps you catch hold of the top of your right thigh. Keep the bend in your right knee facing forward. Flip your right palm to face up. Lift your spine tall, then lean laterally towards the rear of your mat in peaceful or exalted warrior. As your left arm is wrapped behind you, feel the left side of your chest broaden while relaxing both of your shoulders down. Last few breaths here. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, bring your hands to the floor and step into pose. Either hold plank a few breaths or glide forward and take your vinyasa on your own. Let's meet in downward facing dog. Paying attention to any way your breath pattern might have changed. From downward facing dog, keep your two hips balanced and lift from your inner thigh. Inhale, raise your left leg slowly back. Then exhale, round forward, bending your left knee towards your nose, gently stepping your left foot just inside of your left hand. Keep your feet hips width apart as you drop your right heel to the floor. Keep your two hips facing forward as you slowly rise. Warrior One. Now again, let's bring the hands to your hips. Bend your left knee right on top of your left ankle while drawing your left outer hip back. Straighten your right leg entirely while pressing your right outer heel onto the floor and spiraling your right outer hip forward. Direct your tailbone towards the ground beneath it as you lift your frontal hip bones. And lifting your arms, relax your shoulders and steady your gaze. A few more breaths. In Warrior One, bend your elbows apart like the shape of a cactus out of your arms. Cross your left elbow over the right and either hook your thumbs or wrap your forearms and palms. Soften your shoulders down and lift your elbows to the height of your shoulders. Gently press your forearms forward away from your face. As you steady your gaze and your deep breathing, begin to shift your weight entirely onto your left foot as you bend your left knee, turning out your right leg and wrapping it over the left with right flexed foot. Eagle pose. Sit as low as you can, as that will help to stabilize your balance. And if you're able to, tuck your right toes behind your left calf and scissor your right hip slightly back, keeping your hips facing forward, elbows and knees stacked down your midline. Let's take a few breaths, observing here in Garudasana. Coming into half moon pose, you might like to bring your hands to your hips, unraveling your right leg horizontally behind you to trace the midline of your mat. Flex your right foot. Lean your torso forward, then place your left hand down, upper left corner from your left pinky toe, about 6 inches forward. Keep flexing your right foot, then draw your left sitting bone back towards your inner right heel, thereby lengthening the left side of your torso beneath you. Turn your chest completely to face your right wall, thus stacking your two shoulders over your left wrist. Maybe explore raising your right arm. Maybe explore looking up past it. Find one point to focus your gaze on. And let's take a few more breaths in Ardha Chandrasana. Taking your time, be mindful as you transition into Warrior Two. Bend your left knee and softly step your right foot towards the rear of your mat with arms wide open. Align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot. As your right leg slightly turns inward to face the front of your mat, wrap your left outer hip beneath you and stack your left knee directly above the ankle. Feel the bowl shape of your pelvis upright, belly slightly engaged. And as you open your arms wide, relax your shoulders and let your spine be tall. Steady your gaze just past your left hand, and let's take a few breaths in Virabhadrasana 2. Wrap your right arm behind your back. Maybe you reach the top of your left thigh. Keep the bend of your left knee facing forward. Flip your left palm to face up. Lift your spine from your pelvis, then side bend towards the rear of your mat. Relaxing your shoulders down as you open the right side of your chest. Soften in your front ribs. Let's take a few breaths. Exalted or peaceful warrior. Take another breath in. Exhale your two hands to the ground. Either hold plank, Take a full-on vinyasa or a few cat-cows. Maybe it's time to rest in child's pose. We'll eventually meet in downward facing dog. As your body is still, allow a moment to feel the spaciousness of your breath. Walk your hands back slowly towards your feet, folding over your legs as we come into Padahastasana, stretching your outer wrists. Feel free to bend your knees as you lift your toes to slip your palms face up underneath the soles of your feet, getting your toes to touch the inner creases of your wrists. Then shift more weight forward and inhale. Imagine pressing your heart through the gates of your arms. Keep lengthening your spine that way, and exhale, fold even further. As you completely drop your skull, let it be heavy and perhaps even shake your head a few times, nod your head. If you're able to, flare your bent elbows apart to help float your shoulders away from your neck. As you tilt more weight forward, feel your sitting bones rise and your crown drop. Let's take a few more breaths. If you've got a lot of heat built up that you need to release from your body, try fluttering your lips as you breathe out to your mouth, helping to ease your jaw, or taking a few lion's breaths where you exhale big with mouth and eyes wide, eyes cross-eyed, tongue out. Then slipping your palms out from underneath, bring your hands to your hips, root down through your feet, and inhale to slowly rise all the way up. Let's come on down to sit. We're not cooling down just yet. In fact, we're just gonna play a little bit more with Agni, the digestive fire. So as you sit down with your feet in front of your pelvis, parallel your feet about hips width apart. Firm down through all parts of your body in contact with the ground to help rebound a greater lift to your spine as you relax your shoulders and open your chest. Then extend your arms forward with your palms face up, drawing your shoulder bones back and down into their shoulder sockets. Take a deep breath and a few more slowly as you lower onto your back. Taking your time in this process, notice what comes up, not only in how you feel in your body, but maybe even what comes up in the mind. It's these moments of challenge or even sometimes discomfort, as Pema Chodron says, that we can become more aware of where we might be stuck. So here, once you're down, lift your knees or lift your feet off the ground so that your shins are like a tabletop parallel to the floor. Bring your knees together, bring your feet together, and then imagine in the shape of your body that you're sitting in a chair. Place your palms on your lap. Now, as you feel the space between the ground and your lower back, most of us do have that curvature with our space. Let's shorten the space, but not completely eliminate it by firming in your belly. Let's help the process by, with your palms in your lap, pushing your thighs forward as your thighs resist against your palms. No visible action, but there's internal engagement in that deep lower belly. Relax your head and shoulders, and let's take a few more breaths here for about 30 seconds. Those of you familiar with breath of fire, stoking digestive fire, you could add closing your lips, short, quick breaths, percussive exhales, draw the belly in towards the spine like this. Mouth is closed, you're just breathing through your nose. Last 10 seconds. Take a deep breath in. Lift your pelvic floor as if drawing the navel in and up towards your heart. Exhale, catch hold of your knees, and rotate your thighs together and apart. Breathe in, breathe out slowly, returning to Ujjayi Pranayama, victorious breathing. Switch the circles of your legs. And from here, straighten your legs towards the sky. If your hamstrings are tight, you bend your knees slightly. Bring your feet together, point or flex your feet to activate the muscles in your legs. Now interlace your fingers and point your index fingers towards the sky. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, and lift right. So you're pointing towards the upper right corner of your room, pressing your left forearm against your right thigh. If your neck needs support, place your right palm between your skull, but keep reaching towards the upper right corner of your room. Inhale, slowly lower your left leg forward to hover your heel just about 2 inches off the ground. Exhale, slowly lift the left leg up to meet your right. Inhale, lower to hover, left leg. Exhale, lift to meet right leg. Inhale, lower. Keep lifting head and shoulders. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Halfway there, inhale, lower. Exhale, 5. Draw your navel towards your spine. Inhale, lower, slow and controlled movements. Exhale, 4. Inhale, reach your index finger towards the upper right corner of your room. Exhale, 3. Inhale, is there any added tension in your face or your breath? Exhale, 2. Inhale. Exhale, lift. Lower your head and shoulders, and let's enter happy baby. Bend your knees wide apart to the outsides of your shoulders. Hold of your ankles or outer feet parallel to each other. Head and shoulders, and maybe the side. Re-lengthen your. From here, straighten your legs up, bring your feet together, pointed or flexed. Reach your arms up, interlace your fingers, accept your index. Take a deep inhale, then shoulders and twist left. Pressing your right forearm against your left thigh, point your index actively towards the upper left corner of your room. If your neck needs support, place your left palm behind your skull. Inhale, lower your right leg slowly towards the ground, just 2 inches away from it. Exhale, slowly lift your right leg. Keep spiraling your torso. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, draw your navel in. Exhale. Inhale, reaching through your index fingers. Exhale. Halfway there, inhale. Exhale, 5. Inhale, use the rhythm to soothe your mind. Exhale, 4. Inhale. Exhale, 3. Inhale. Exhale, 2. Inhale. Exhale, 1. Lower your head and shoulders, and this time think of a frog lying on its back. So flex your feet, bend your knees 90 degrees, and splay out your thighs. You could also rest your arms on top of your inner thighs to help splay them out. Ground your tailbone, head and shoulders, and let's take a few deep breaths. From here, bring your hands to your outer thighs, close your knees together and begin to rock forward and back several times until you can rise up to stand at the top of your mat. And once you're there, bring your feet together, bring your hands to your hips. As your tailbone lengthens towards the ground between your heels, feel your frontal hip bones slightly lift towards the bottom of your front ribs. Awake and engaged at your navel center. Now steady your gaze just ahead as you steady your breathing while entering Natarajasana, dancer pose. With your left hand on your left hip, bend your right knee to hug your left knee, heel towards glute. Backstroke your right arm and catch hold of your right inner or outer foot. Keep drawing your tailbone towards your inner left heel and begin to kick your right leg straight as though entering Warrior 3 while pulling your right foot towards you. Counter forces helping you to sustain your balance as you raise your left arm, wrap the tricep forward, and broaden your chest like cobra or upward facing dog. Imagine breathing into the center of your chest and down into the pit of your belly as you let your body expand for a few more breaths. Now, keeping your weight just on your left foot, you could bend your left knee to help this transition. Flex your right foot and bend your right knee in front of you. Catch hold of your right shin or thigh with your hands. Take a moment to stack your two shoulders above your two hips and level the height of your two hips while containing your lower belly. Breathe. Bring your hands to your hips and keep them balanced, facing forward as you start to enter Warrior 3. Flex your right foot and press the heel towards your rear wall while lengthening the crown of your head towards your front wall until you've created a horizontal line. Feel the balance of your two hips as you lift your navel towards your spine. Remember that you could bend your left knee any amount. You could lower your hands on the floor blocks just a foot ahead of your left foot. Or you could add reaching your arms overhead if you want to play a little more with stoking the fire challenge. Let's take 3 last breaths here. And then set your right foot next to your left, forward fold. Bring your hands to your hips, bend your knees, and leading with your chest, point your elbows towards the sky. Inhale, slowly rise up. Re-anchor your tailbone towards the ground between your heels. Keep your right hand on your right hip as you balance your two hips. Draw your navel in and up. Steady your gaze, steady your breath, and bend your left knee to hug the right, bringing left heel towards glute. Backstroke your left arm to open your inner shoulder. Catch hold of whatever you can, inner or outer foot or ankle. Then reclose your knees, re-anchor your tailbone down. Feel your belly lifted as you start to kick your left leg behind you towards Warrior 3 while pulling your left foot towards you, using the contrasting forces to sustain your balance. As you raise your right arm up, coiling your chest up from right beneath your shoulder blades. Natarajasana, dancer pose, for a few more breaths. Heart opening, shoulder opening, many other mind opening. Let's start to lift your left knee in front of you, flex the foot, standing on your right foot, catch hold of your left shin or left thigh, pause to regain center. Paying attention to what happens within these transitions internally. So from here, bring your hands to your hips. Keep your hips balanced. Flex your left heel towards your rear wall. Lengthen your spine parallel to the floor. Warrior 3. Take flight for a few more breaths. In any way you choose to vary your arms. will meet standing in a forward fold, 2 feet at the top of your mat. This time you might want to pedal your feet in place by bending one knee and the other. Maybe even clasping hold of opposite elbows and letting your spine or head sway. Perhaps a few deep sighs cleansing through your mouth. Let's step your left knee to the ground behind you, entering single pigeon pose. Flare your right thigh out to the side, to the right side, and slide your right heel towards your left hip, dropping your right thigh on the ground. Now as you tuck your left toes with left leg straight behind you, place your hands just outside of your hips and scissor your right hip back. Let your left hip come forward so both hips are squared. You might need to place something under your right glute if there's a gap between the floor and it. Now, if you can parallel your right shin to the front edge of your mat, flex your right foot in that intensity to stabilize your knee. From here, relax your back toes. You could bow forward. You could spiral your left arm under your right bent elbow into your thread the needle, a spinal twist. Or you could come into king pigeon pose where you bend your left knee, backstroke your left arm, catch hold of your left ankle or foot. Another back bend. Wherever you are, let's take one more minute. Conscious breathing. Great variations. Finishing off, just 3 last breaths here on this side. So to exit single pigeon on this side, let's return to hands and knees or downward facing dog, your choice. And once there, take a moment to lift your right leg up behind you, gently moving it at your right hip socket. Feel your breathing. Then, with 2 feet or 2 knees on the ground, slide your left calf in front of your pelvis, crossing your mat. As you come to sit, tuck your right toes. Notice if already you know you'll need to place a prop under your left glute to balance your 2 hips as you scissor left hip back, right hip forward. If your left shin can parallel the front edge of your mat while hips are squared, make sure to flex your left foot. Stabilize the alignment of your left knee. Then relax your back toes, and I encourage you to try the same variation as you did on your first side, honoring the depth or intensity that this side requires. So if you're spiraling into thread the needle, left elbow is flaring up, right arm is sliding underneath it. Right side of your head on the ground or on a prop. Let's take another minute. Last 3 breaths.
As you're ready, take your time stepping back one more time into downward facing dog or hands and knees, giving your left leg some movement at your hip.
Let's come to sit eventually with legs in front of us. Extending both legs forward for a seated forward fold, in which you might use a strap if you like around the balls of your feet. Separate your feet hips width apart, flex them both, and press your big toe mounds forward. Root down to your sitting bones, maybe propped up on a blanket if that helps you to sit taller. Firm your outer hips towards your midline. And as you relax your shoulders back and down, broaden and lift your chest and lead with it. Exhaling to bow, inhaling, and re-lengthen your spine, breath by breath. Find a small integration of a back bend or a cobra pose while you're doing something in contrast, a forward fold. Find the balance of flexibility and strength as you do that. Let's finish one last deep breath here in Paschimottanasana. And then leading with your chest, inhale to slowly rise up. So I invite you to choose a cooling inversion. If you have a wall, you can lie on your back with legs up the wall. If you have a chair or pillows, you could place your bent knees on top. If you practice shoulder stand, just make sure that you bring the elbows really close to your side ribs. And when you lift your lower back with your hands, away from your on, make sure. So let's take another minute. Down towards Shavasana. Inversions like handstand or headstand, as those are being. If you were practicing full-on shoulder stand, you might find it beneficial to lie in fish pose before surrendering to Shavasana. And take any last gentle stretch or movement, maybe a supine spinal twist. Perhaps gently moving your skull to feel the loosening of your neck. And as you're ready, place your body into a comfortable position with any supportive props you may have around. Close your eyes. Take one last deep exhalation to your mouth. And let yourself be here as you observe a few minutes in Shavasana, corpse pose. We're now about to enter our 5 minutes of sitting in meditation for those of you. And if so, allow your body to gently move towards a comfortable seat. Giving ourselves anything. Truly practice being that non-judgmental witness of our emotions. Setting the timer now. attention, come back to your physical body, what is surrounding your physical body. Sliding your palms to your heart, this gesture of gratitude and honoring your inner guidance, your community here. As we come to support ourselves, we come to support each other. Close the practice, chanting one Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you.